Long before the Empire learned the word human, there were already warnings. They existed in broken archives, in half-translated myths from extinguished species, in anomaly reports filed, ignored, and eventually deleted because they didn't fit doctrine. The warnings all described the same thing. Not a fleet, not a weapon, a behavior. Civilizations that encountered humanity did not report invasion. They reported observation. They did not describe conquest. They described questions. Human vessels appeared at the edges of systems, lingered without claiming territory, and departed without explanation. They mapped star lanes that should not exist. They studied political structures instead of military strength. Most concerning of all, they left. Species that begged for alliances were politely declined. Empires that demanded tribute were calmly ignored. Threats were met with silence. And always, the same detail appeared in survivor testimony. When confronted with overwhelming force, the humans did not accelerate. They did not raise shields. They did not flee. They laughed. Imperial scholars dismissed these records as psychological artifacts. Cultural projection. Fear myths born from encountering an advanced but passive species. After all, no civilization that laughed in the face of annihilation could possibly survive long. The Empire archived the warnings. Then one day, at the edge of the outer spiral, humanity stopped observing and started responding. The Galactic Empire did not fall in a day. It didn't even notice the moment it stopped being absolute. For 10,000 years, its borders were not guarded by fleets, but by certainty. Patrols flew the same routes because nothing had ever challenged them. Threat assessments were copied, not updated. Entire species had been conquered so long ago their names survived only as corrupted phonemes in archived languages no one spoke anymore. The Empire no longer watched the dark for danger. It watched for confirmation. So when the outer patrol line detected the incoming vessels, no one sounded an alarm. The contacts were wrong. Slender silhouettes drifting between sensor sweeps. Too sharp. Too clean. No drive emissions. No radiation bloom. No energy wake of any kind. Scanners failed to classify them and defaulted to error states normally reserved for debris ghosts or obsolete civilian hulls. Unregistered traders, a junior officer said, already bored. Probably derelicts, another replied. No one considered invasion. The flagship ascendant will rotate it slightly as protocol engaged. Identification demand. Compliance window. Threat escalation ladder. The bridge crew barely looked up. Then the reply arrived. It slid into Imperial comms like it belonged there. Perfect clarity. No distortion. No delay. A human voice spoke. It identified the vessels as Terran exploratory craft. Requested safe passage through the sector. No deference. No fear. Just calm. The bridge went quiet. The fleet commander replayed the transmission, mandibles tightening. Respect, to the Empire, meant submission. This voice offered courtesy without obedience. A sensor officer swallowed. Commander, there's laughter in the background. They replayed it again. Faint. Subdued. Not mocking. Relaxed. As if the humans found the situation mildly amusing. Curiosity died. Offense replaced it. The commander issued an ultimatum. Immediate surrender for inspection. Weapons standby. He expected panic. Or negotiation. The Terran reply came back unchanged. Acknowledged. The word carried the tone of someone agreeing to pause a conversation, not submit. Doctrine did not account for indifference. The commander authorized a controlled weapons lock. Dozens of Imperial cruisers shifted into firing alignment. Energy projectors charged. Targeting nodes painted the Terran hulls. The foreign ships did nothing. They didn't maneuver, didn't raise shields. They simply existed. A warning shot was ordered. The energy burst struck the nearest Terran vessel and vanished. No explosion, no deflection, no shield flare. The energy simply ceased to exist. Scanners screamed. Displays flooded with static and impossible numbers. Readings dropped to zero, then spiked beyond measurable range. The Terran ship drifted on, untouched. For the first time in centuries, arrogance cracked. Attempts to rescan made things worse. Some readings showed the ships occupying multiple positions simultaneously. Impossible. Then the Terran commander spoke again. He advised the Empire not to escalate. Not threatened. Advised. His voice carried something worse than contempt. Sympathy. The fleet advanced anyway. The barrage that followed was execution level. Plasma. Kinetics. Ion disruptors. The void lit up, then went silent. Every attack dissolved on contact. No heat, no radiation, no recoil. Physics itself seemed offended. The Terran commander spoke again, calmly suggesting disengagement, as if addressing a malfunction. New skin modes activated. Gasps echoed across bridges. The Terran ships appeared in several locations at once. Identical mass signatures. Perfect stability. Not decoys. Then the first Imperial cruiser went dark. No explosion. Every system shut down simultaneously. Power. Weapons. Engines. Emergency backups. Just silence. Another ship followed. Then another. Engineers whispered a theory once declared heretical. Subtractive resonance. Not releasing energy. Removing it. The Terran vessels maneuvered with impossible precision, countering Imperial movements before orders finished forming. They're inside the command loops. They're predicting us. They're ahead of us. Missiles veered off course. Targeting systems collapsed into infinite recursion. Imperial superiority evaporated in real time. The Terrans urged disengagement again. Still not a threat. A courtesy. Reinforcements arrived. Dreadnoughts. Elite destroyer wings. Enough firepower to erase a system. The Imperial commander issued a final demand. Unconditional submission. The Terran reply came back. Amused. The laughter slipped through again. Then the Terran ships vanished. Space swallowed them. Seconds later, they reappeared inside Imperial formations. Microfold transitions that should have torn hulls apart executed flawlessly. Chaos erupted. Terran kinetic rods launched in silence. Dense. Precise. They punched through reactors, command spines, weapon arrays. Imperial ships died screaming. The Empire realized the Terrans knew their designs. Every flaw. Every cascade point. Destroyer wings attempted a spear strike. Terrans folded behind them. Engines froze. Entire formations drifted powerless. Retreat was attempted. Escape vectors closed without killing. They weren't annihilating. They were demonstrating. Finally, the Imperial flagship requested dialogue. The Terran commander answered immediately. He explained their purpose. Exploration. Knowledge. Stable routes. Cooperation. Then he displayed evidence. Centuries of surveillance. Subjugated worlds. Cultural erasures. Silent genocides. The humans had been watching the Empire for a very long time. The proposal was simple. Withdraw. Cease forced annexation. Open diplomacy. In return, limited cooperation. The Empire refused. Once, the Terrans replayed the battle telemetry. Silence followed. The treaty was signed. Not in fear. In understanding. The Terran fleet departed without ceremony, folding beyond tracking limits. The void grew quiet. Across the galaxy, the story spread. The Empire had met a species that laughed at fire. And in every council chamber, one question echoed. If humans laugh at danger, what happens when something finally makes them angry? The treaty changed everything. Not because of what it said, but because of what it proved. The Empire still existed. Its fleets still filled the void. Its banners still cast long shadows across subjugated worlds. But now, every patrol scanned deeper. Every admiral hesitated. Every council session ended with the same unspoken thought. If that was restraint, what does war look like? Human embassies appeared on neutral worlds. Small, unarmed, staffed by diplomats who smiled easily and listened more than they spoke. They offered trade, knowledge, infrastructure, and boundaries. Empires that respected those boundaries prospered. Those that tested them simply stopped expanding. No battles were declared. No systems burned. Supply chains failed. Navigation maps corrupted themselves. Military doctrines collapsed under predictive countermeasures that felt less like resistance and more like inevitability. Humanity never claimed territory. They didn't need to. They had positioned themselves at every junction that mattered. Years later, an imperial historian attempted to quantify the shift. He concluded the empire had not been defeated. It had been outgrown. In a private addendum, sealed under executive encryption, he wrote a single line that never reached the archives. Humans do not fear war. They fear becoming what they are capable of. And somewhere beyond mapped space, Terran fleets continued to explore, laughing softly, still hoping no one would ever give them a reason to stop.